Coming up to the stage, Representative Pressley.
Hey, walk it like I talk it, walk it, walk it like I talk it, walk it, walk it like I talk it, walk it like I talk it, woo. Walk it like I talk it, walk it like I talk it, ay. Walk it like I talk it, walk it like I talk it. Take my shoes and walk a mile, something that you can't do, that you can't do, that you can't do, that you can't do.
I love those dance moves, looking good. All right. I got another song. I think you're gonna like this one. I want to bring up to the stage Representative Omar.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag. I see it, I want it. I spit yellow on it.
Hey ladies, let's get information.
All right. We can't get the party started quite yet. We got a lot to get to, but I do want to make one more very important introduction. I want to bring up to the stage Representative Tlaib.
Now shake the hips.
Yes. I love those moves. Thank you for those. All right. We're going to keep the party going a little bit later. I'm going to turn it over to you guys now.
Thank you, DJ Novena. And thank you to the squad for being here and having me with y'all. So before, I'm just going to hand it off to you all because y'all are going to have a conversation and get into it, as y'all very do.
All right, y'all ladies ready to get information?
Let's squad up.
Squad
I
up.
know.
Let's
Go. I want us to get us like really going. I'm ready to be all like Mama Bear out in my precincts and my polling location, like move out the way. No one is going to intimidate us from voting. No way. We got this.
They say joy is an act of resistance. And, you know, I think a lot of us have been in a resistant mode for so long, and we are ready to be in a restorative mode, reimagining mode, and a rebuild mode. What do y'all think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as much as the vote in this election is a resistance of like corruption and cruelty, it's also an affirmation of justice in every form. So I want folks to be standing in that self-agency and that self-determination. We're not doing this because we're trying to shame folks to vote. We want folks to be inspired, compelled, full of sense of responsibility.
Vote from a place of love.
That's right.
That's right. And in a lot of ways, you know, we're turning out this vote just to get to the starting line of the real work that is to come, because it's once we get to that other side and, you know, and I'm going to claim it now, where we work for that victory and try to do everything that we can to restore our democracy. That's when the real work begins, where we actually have the reins of policy, where we can, you know, do everything that we can organize for and get everything that we organize for.
Yeah, and I just hope everyone knows, like, when you're voting, you're not just voting for yourself, you're voting for your neighborhood, for your community, you're showing up for them. Because I want you to think about when you vote, not just the names, right? And I love it. Ayanna, you say this all the time, like, this is not about the destination, because that is what Alex is talking about, that movement work that we need to continue moving forward and fighting for to end poverty and so many of these other issues that are important to us, that I hope people understand we're creating a door for that conversation. But I want you to think about your community, the person that you might have lost during this pandemic, that person that lost a job, that person that is waiting for us to pass a COVID relief package, and so much more. Because right now there is a wall around the White House, and we got to knock it down. We got to create a door that we can tear down after this election. So it's not about just this day, y'all. It's about continuing this movement work that we all have been able to connect with our policy work. So I'm excited. I'm excited because when I vote, I know I'm showing up for my district. I know I'm showing up for everyone in the community that hasn't felt heard or seen in a long time.
And our vote is so powerful. Just think about all of the ways, right, that we have shown up every single day and have shown how powerful we can be. And they know that that can be visible in the ballot box. And that's why they're fighting so hard to limit our ability to vote. Just last night in Minnesota, they had the courts overturn our ability, right, to expand the number of days people had to turn in their ballot. And so now, instead of having until November 3rd, 10th for people to turn in their ballot, it has to be in by 8 p.m. on the 3rd. And so we know people are motivated, people are energized, and they're recognizing that this is the way they show their agency. And no one can take away your agency once you own it. And so we want people to own their agency, their power through the ballot box.
We got this, but we got our first guest who has a lot to say about the power to vote is Common. So we're going to welcome Common into our space. Welcome.
What's up?
What up? What's happening? Hey, I heard y'all had dope intro songs. Where's my intro song?
Next time. We appreciate you. We know
you are hoping that you would join us with your own song.
Yeah, I know. I should have. I could have. Okay, listen. I got a quick one for y'all. Say.
Okay.
Yeah, break it
They
down.
say racism, man, it don't stop. They talk sexism, yeah, it don't stop. Americanism, man, it don't stop. You gotta get that wisdom and get your Glock before they hit your block with the National Guard. Yeah, you protected by a compassionate God. We hunting for jobs, being hunted by squads. It's a small world. We want it at large. America's most neglected and arrested. That's why your vaccine, I gotta second guess it. We don't know what you shooting in black kings and black queens. Plus your health record ain't really that clean. We don't forget like Nat King, what happened in Tuskegee. We getting over high blood pressure and diabetes like trees. We fall in the wilderness of America. Is it you don't hear us or don't care for us? Once upon a time, there was a black man. They loved him when he shot ball. They loved him when he ran. They loved him when he rapped. They loved him when he danced, but really didn't love when he was out with his fam. Didn't love him in the hood or selling CDs, and couldn't love her when she was in the house sleep. I'm wondering if it's love, if it's really love at all, because in that type of love, we fall. That's something they call it, yeah.
That was a whole word. And I know that our brother Jamal Bowman in this moment would say, now that is hip hop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can hear his voice right now.
Yeah.
I knew you would come through. See, I knew you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Those righteous words, brother. We appreciate you. Thank you for using your platform. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Just out of radical love for community in this moment. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
Common, what are you telling people? I have like the 3rd poorest congressional district. There's like 32,000 brand new voters, registered voters, about 5,000 already voted. And we're calling them, texting them, telling them you got to come out. And Michigan is so important. We lost Michigan by less than 11,000 votes, and he cannot win without Michigan. What are some of the things we can be like really pushing, and folks that are listening can text their cousins, their friends, their family to say, why this is so important?
Well, I like to use the example, because so many young people have been out thinking about justice and speaking up for justice and protesting. I like to use the example of like what the difference in elected officials is. Like in Minnesota, what happened with George Floyd, Minnesota handled their business. I've been out there when we all were out there. Minnesota, Congresswoman Omar, y'all handled y'all business, and those police officers, will be on trial and justice will be served. With Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, that they not handling their business. They allowing a life to be taken, and that elected official out there, that attorney general is basically the people elected that person. And if you don't vote, you elect them. So anytime you really say you for justice and you really for equality, or you care about your community, a vote is one of the steps to that. Like protest, tweeting, those things mean something, but vote is the action, and not actually identifying people who will change things legally and policy wise for you. So I'm really just trying to bring it down to earth for some people, because it does seem complicated sometimes when they first, even for me, when I first began voting, because I didn't start to vote till I was like 27. I felt so driven to to vote against George Bush, I was like, how can I say I'm for my people if I'm not stepping up with a vote? And I try to, you know, really connect the situation, because a lot of people, I've been going through the communities. We've been in the hood. We was in the hood in Houston today, and people are in despair and dealing with different pains. But they don't actually, sometimes, a lot do. Let me say this. Some people really been like, I've been really inspired by the people I've seen in the most hood communities to some of the suburbs. When I go to those places, people are talking about voting in charge. But those who are not just really don't feel a part of the process. And y'all know, y'all have heard that story before. So I just really honestly just try to say, hey man, anything you see happening, whether it's people being sentenced to long jail sentences, you know the criminal justice system been targeting you. Man, we can change that. It's people. Hey, I always use you all as examples, because I feel like my experience in getting to know you all has gained, even increased my faith in the system, to be honest. Like, so I just try to break it down as clear as possible. In fact, why don't y'all share some wisdom with me on what things I could also talk to these brothers and sisters about when I'm coming across them?
I don't know. I feel like you got it. You know, I tell people that politics is personal.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as not doing politics, right? Because the politics that allow for certain politicians to come to power allow for certain policies to be implemented that impact our lives on a very personal level.
Right.
So, you know, I know that you just talked about how elections have consequences. If we didn't have Keith Ellison as our AG, you know, I tell people like Keith and I were running the same time for election. And I lost more sleep over whether he was going to win or lose than I did for myself in my own race, because I knew how consequential it was going to be if he wasn't in that seat. Right. And we now see, right? Like, I don't think we would have had this process be taken in the way that it has if it wasn't for Keith. Yeah. If he was not our AG. And I think there are very tangible examples like that, where people can see, right, how consequential their choices are when they decide to come out and vote and when they choose not to. And for me, you know, I always vote and talk to people about voting from a place of love, because I think fear can be paralyzing. Yeah. And hate is an awful thing to have in your heart. And so being moved and mobilized from a place of love is really the way in which we can see, you know, this election give us the results where we let love have the last word.
Yes.
That's powerful. I definitely agree with that. And Common, you know, you remind me of what our brother Kendrick Sampson reminds us, that there can be no revolution without the arts. So you prove that everyone has a role to play in the movement. You use your platform, you use your artistry, but everything that you were talking about in that storytelling, which was so powerful, what I've been telling people are the words of a St. Louis activist who inspired me, and that is to vote your condition. You know, vote your condition. So do you have a pre-existing condition? Okay. So what is your neighbor's condition? What's your community's condition? Vote your condition.
Yeah, and Common, you know, one of the things that rings in my mind all the time is the late Elijah Cummings. And, you know, he's quoting somebody, but it just resonates with me. And I tell people, you know, he said, you know, doing nothing doesn't amount to nothing.
Yeah.
Doing nothing actually does result. It results in, you know, not showing up. It results in our voices not collectively being loud. And I remind, you know, a lot of folks that have been inspired by all of us running. I won by 900 votes. So your vote mattered. You're counted. You may not have been coming out to vote the top of the ticket. It was a governor's race, but you coming out got me elected. It motivated and inspired people, got out there and showed up and made history, and got, you know, again, this incredible amount of folks in there. And you know, Common, it's these lived experiences that my sisters and I all have. We share tears, we hug about it, we're angry, we're passionate, all these things. But it's our lived experiences that we bring forward that you know, we talk about issues that it's completely different of how Congress has been talking about stuff. And if I always say to people like, oh, Rashida, I don't know what to do. I said, look, give me an administration I can work with. Like, you understand, like this man is like, there's a wall. I can't even, and I can get through walls, comment. Like, give me a wall either. But this one is so corrupt and so lawless, so hateful, got white supremacy all. Like, I can't deal with that. Like, give me somebody that I know a little bit, like I can knock down the wall. Just, But it's like, it's so funny to me that, like, I don't know what it is, but like, it's just Elijah Cummings rings in my ear every time he talked about his mother and what it took, all of that. And I just feel like, God, we can't just do nothing. We can't just sit at home. We can't do nothing. And that's why I'm like, if some people are just sitting at home, you need to just think about that neighbor, think about somebody else that needs you to come out. And that might inspire, because I just want everyone to know that's listening, that just hasn't done it yet, that you're needed right now in so many ways.
Yeah, no. And, when all of us, I think, got elected in unlikely circumstances. We all had to overcome like local political machines, or we weren't like the favored candidate. And when each of us won in our own way, it was shocking. And it was shocking to political establishments of all parties. And I know that, and I think we all knew that in order for us to win, we didn't enter these races seeing, how am I going to get the other guy's votes? We walked into our races saying, where's the crew that we are going to bring into this system to upend it? And that required a strategy that almost no one else uses, which is to turn out people who don't usually turn out to vote. And they don't turn out because they're apathetic. In fact, a lot of times people don't turn out because they are the most invested and get the most heartbroken when our system disappoints them. And so for us, what I feel like the key is in turnout is when we go to young people, when you go to low income people, when you go to public housing, and you remind them and you tell them you matter. Like, you actually matter. And we internalize the fact in a lot of ways that we don't matter. And it may not be a conscious thought, but when our public policy doesn't see you, when our public housing is allowed to just crumble and not be invested in, you don't get boilers and you got cold air in the middle of wintertime and your water's dirty, all of that is policy and government telling communities that you don't matter, right? And it's really easy to internalize that. And so when we come up and we knock on a door, and we're the first time we've knocked on that door in 10 years that an elected official has gone into a neighborhood or knocked on a door, you're telling that person that you matter. And then eventually we start to internalize that. And then we say, wait, I matter. I matter. And you and you and you and you and you and all these people that we put in answer to us too. And our vote shouldn't be taken for granted. I matter, you matter. And I think that's one of the most powerful ways to get people out to the polls.
Yes. And I also got to say that I think, I heard Ilhan also saying how joy, like, or maybe Rashida, you said it, but either way.
We all talk about joy.
Okay.
We all talk about
it's just like, I think when I went to vote, every time I went to vote, when I went to vote this year, I felt like just empowered. I felt like a real joy, like, man, I'm doing something. Like it's not just talk. I'm not just, I felt like a better human being. And I think, sometimes the way voting is pitched, we're trying to find the angle of like, okay, what's going to encourage these people to vote? But I'm so glad that you all talk about the joy of it, because it's the truth. It's part of it. It's like, honestly, even when I make music, this conscious music, I want it to be uplifting and I want it to be socially conscious, but it got to be dope too. Like, it's got to be dope. So my point is, it's like voting is dope. Like, it's like fresh. It's like something that you feel empowered by. And I think, the more and more people, because what you were saying about going, like, I felt a couple people I've seen, like, I could feel their hurt, and I could feel them like their pain of not being feeling like a part of America, in this process. But the more and more I talked, or the more and more, whomever was canvassing with me talked, I could just see them changing and listening. We literally almost today got some dudes that they was gonna follow us to the polls and vote, but somehow it was a miscommunication. They didn't go, but we were real close, and they were first like, man, nah, I'm good. And we literally just talked. We gave them enough reasons that made them feel enough value that I think, and that's so important what you say, AOC, about that. Like that value is priceless.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Carmen. We appreciate you. We'll sit at a virtual table and break bread and do this building with you anytime. And thank you for bringing the brothers into the room, because we know there's such an emphasis on the role that women play at the ballot box. But we want these brothers, look, they do matter, and they are powerful. So thank you for bringing them into the room.
Listen, I will join the room with y'all anytime. I'm learning, I'm laughing, I love it. So keep spreading love, and y'all like heroes to me. So I'm really just, I'm here. Whenever y'all need me, call on me. I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll get you a t-shirt.
I know, I love these t-shirts.
That was amazing. Thank you, y'all. Those are great shirts. I gotta get I gotta get your squad swag right there.
You got it.
Thank you. All right, well, we'll see y'all in a little bit, and I'm really excited for our next guest. So thank y'all all so much. Our next guest is Senator Elizabeth Warren, a fearless consumer advocate who made her life's work the fight for middle and working class families, was reelected to the United States Senate for a second term in November 2016 by the people of Massachusetts. Elizabeth is one of the nation's leading progressive voices fighting for big structural change that would transform our economy. So please welcome the senator from Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren.
Woo! Woo-hoo!
Senator! Hey, Liz.
Hello, Senator. Oh, that's so sweet.
We're gonna.
Oh, this is so much fun.
Oh, we got you. It's 2020 in a nutshell.
That's okay.
Everybody's had their cameras. This is
she stays studying. She stays studying. I will say, since that's my senator, very recently she was saying, and I've seen this trending, Sundays are like self-care Sunday, right? And I had said that, voting is self-care, right? And so she recently said that, vote for someone vote for yourself. It is an act of self-love, right? So it's self-care, it's self-love. Like I was saying, vote your condition. So what is that? If you are living in subpar housing, then your condition is housing justice, and that's on the ballot. If you are suffering under the weight of economic inequality, then economic justice is on the ballot. Vote your condition. If you are devastated by family separation at the border and all the way into your living room because of mass incarceration, then we know we need to radically reimagine our criminal legal system, and justice is on the ballot. Vote your condition. This is self-care. I want an administration that sees me, that names my pain, and then develops a policy to address it. So I'm going to keep centering that policy, particularly since Senator Warren will be on deck in a moment, because it was in conversation with her that I first said that policy is my love language. Because it has caused hurt and harm, and we know that it can create equity and justice. And so, I do know that in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we will have those committed partners as working family party. But credit to me, Rashida gave me the credit. It's WFP that says that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be the destination, will be the door and not the destination, right?
No, and
that's true for them. That's true for all of us. We want to be held accountable. That's true for all of us.
Yep.
And I tell you, Ayanna, like one of the things that I've been telling people is like, all the issues, but even in our ballots, I mean, Ilhan, you talked about this, the AGs, I mean, we got the Michigan Supreme Court. There's so much on the ballot, and the Michigan Supreme Court right now is just out of whack, unfair, all these things, all interconnected to Indian mass incarceration, all interconnected to all the dismantling some of the issues we've been working on. So it's really, really important. I know Senator Elizabeth Warren is coming on again. I'm super
Hello,
excited.
Democrats. We have 4 more days until Election Day. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait. I cannot wait to send Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to the White House. I cannot wait to hurl the Trump presidency into the dustbin of history where it belongs. I cannot wait to expand our majority in the House. I cannot wait to take back the Senate. I cannot wait to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. 4 days left. You can feel the urgency of this moment in the air. And that's why I am honored to be on this call with some of the hardest working, boldest progressives that I know. From Bernie to Maxine and soon to be Congressman-elect Jamal Bowman, I just love saying that, to Alexandria and Ilhan and Rashida and my very dear friend and sister Ayanna. There is so much power and so much purpose on this call. There's a reason for that. We find ourselves in an unprecedented time of crisis. Now more than ever, we need leaders in office who care about working families and who will stop at nothing to protect them. So Democrats have a job to do. Elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But if we want to make structural change, we need to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. We need to flip red seats to blue in the House, flip them into big, bold blue seats, not just blue to bold. We need a progressive force in the House, in the Senate, and all across this nation. This election will determine the future we live in, and that's powerfully important. But this election is also a first step in our fight for progress. Yeah. So I have a plan. I know you're not surprised to hear that. We put it all on the line for the next 4 days, and then we win big. That's part 1. Part 2, we celebrate. We have a great party. And then part 3, the very next day, we get right back into the fight. After we help win this election, we are not going to be turned away and have nothing happen. No, we are going to stay in this fight with a steady resolve. The reason we stay in is the reason that brought us to this fight in the first place. The hope for justice, the urgency of climate action, the fight to make healthcare a basic human right, childcare, canceling student loan debt, protecting our dreamers, expanding Social Security and disability. We're going to remember why we're in this fight, and then we're going to fight like hell to make this an America where we can all thrive. We will be the force that holds elected officials accountable for real change. And how do you fight after an election? Easy. Pressure. I've been in Congress for 7 years now, and I've seen it firsthand. The Senate and the House get a whole lot more done if we're under pressure, very public pressure. And to increase that pressure, we need every progressive to raise their voice loud and proud in the fight for social, racial, and economic justice. I'm not in this fight to talk about change. I'm in this fight to make change. Here's what I know for sure. If we stand together, if we fight together, if we persist together, we can make change. And not just any kind of change, big structural change. It is an honor to fight alongside you. So let's finish strong. Let's get this done. And sorry about the technical difficulties at the beginning. We're beyond all of that. I just want to say, stay in the fight. We're in it together. I hear you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Senator Warren.
I love that.
There we go. So as we all said, joy is an act of resistance. It's what the Resistance Revival Chorus we say all the time. And so I'm excited that we have independent singer-songwriter Zach Matari, who is a 3-time drum legend songwriting contest winner. And so he's currently working on a second solo EP scheduled for fall 2020 release as a Palestinian Brazilian American. Please welcome Zach Matari.
What's up,
Hello,
everybody?
Zach.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Zach Matari. I'm a Palestinian Brazilian American Muslim from New Jersey. I'm here with my band, The After Party. We're so honored to be here with the squad. This song is called Yalla, and I'm going to keep with the theme tonight. Everybody, Yalla, let's vote. Let's hit it. I've traveled way too far to lose myself. I've been through hell and back, I'm back. I've battled tainted minds, misconceptions of my kind, leaving guessing all the time who I am, who I am. I'm tired of keeping quiet. Today I break my silence, yell it like a siren, it echoes through the spineless. Yalla, 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 you fire, I never fall. I am a rising tide, I rise against them all. Yalla, 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 I am a rising tide, don't let the olive branch fall. Yalla, yalla, on me, brothers and sisters, on me. Keep our composure, you'll see, ready like soldiers. Ishmanik, ya habibi, help them understand what they really see is not a foreign man, but land of immigrants. We are thrive, don't let the ignorant cause a divide. This land is good and it is mine, don't let the ignorant cause a divide. Que pasa, ya habibi, help them understand the borders that we see created by the man. Get out there and vote, everybody. Let's go. Come on. Yalla, yalla, yalla. You fire, I never fall. I am a rising tide, I rise against. Yalla, yalla, yalla. I am a rising tide, don't let the olive branch fall. Come on. Yalla, yalla, yalla. I never fall. I am a rising tide, I rise against them all. Yalla, yalla, yalla. Rising tide, don't. 1, 2, 3. يا ظريفة طول وقفت أقول لك رايح الغربية بلادك عالسلة، خايف يا ظريف تروح وتتملك وتعشى للغير تنساني أنا. Yalla, 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 yalla. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so
I was
much.
feeling that. I was really feeling that.
They were giggling.
I was definitely dancing up here.
Hey, I gotta teach you all to do the Depka one day. I gotta teach you all. It's so amazing. It's so much fun.
You know, I had a thought when we were all on the screen together and Senator Warren was there, and I said, I hope that Donald Trump is trolling us in this moment because he's exploded.
You know, they freak out when we get together. Ayanna, it's true. They freak out when we're all like together and do it. Even when we're walking together, you notice that when we're walking together, and they're like, "Why are they talking?" I'm like, "We work together." It's great.
Yeah, it's very conspiratorial. It's called a conspiracy of care.
Well, I love that. I felt it, Ayanna, when you said one time, "Oh my God, we're not some insurgent. Like we're like duly elected. Like we're just coming here and you act like somehow we came in here." Yeah,
there's our next guest coming up.
We're trying to get our next guest.
No, this is great. This is the energy that we need to get to victory. And so next up, we got Mark Lamont Hill, who's a professor of studies at Temple University. He's also the owner of Uncle Bobby's Coffees and Books. Author. Welcome, Mark.
Yo.
I'm sorry, y'all. This is what our text thread is like. Y'all are just getting insight. We're sorry, ladies. We're sorry.
Proper introduction. Hi, Mark.
Hey, what's up? No, it's cool.
I got excited.
I'm a big fan of all of y'all. You know, I love all of y'all. So this is like fun for me. This ain't even work.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good. You know, I'm tired. I've been working. Just finished a book. But cheap plug, but it's called "We Still Here." Pandemic, policing, protest,
We're still here.
Yes.
Y'all
are the reason we're still here.
Black authors matter. So
Black authors matter. Yes, they do. And I'm so grateful for y'all, man. The work that you all are doing individually and collectively is so important. You all are a symbol of what's possible. At a moment of so much despair and crisis, you all are a reminder that not only are we still here, but that we're going to be victorious. I've never been more certain that justice will prevail than I am right now, despite how dark the moment is. And it's because of y'all.
Thank you.
And can I just say one thing?
I don't think you realize like the movement work, all the grassroots, like issue campaign, everything in our communities created the opportunity for us to be able to get where we're at. I mean, it's just such a direct connection. It's like, I mean, we're here because folks believed and had faith of the possibility of some, an activist, a Palestinian Muslim, to go and represent them. And I love our districts are all like amazingly beautiful and diverse, but I know deep down they're like, oh yeah, we did good. This is amazing.
Thanks for being with. You're in a really critical state. I mean, I don't know if you're traveling right now, but if you're home,
Yes.
shout out to Uncle Bobby's, my favorite hoodie in the world. Books saved my life.
Yes.
That is a fact because they did. But what are you seeing and hearing in community and on the ground? What's going on? You are in such a critical state. And that opportunity, what Rashida was talking about, folks think that the opportunity that's presenting in these battleground states just happened this cycle. That is the manifestation of the work of organizers for decades to get us to this moment.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing and feeling on the ground?
I'm in Philadelphia, so I'm seeing, first of all, a lot of energy. I have spent the last month doing voter registration, voter drives, talking to people about, what's important and what's at stake at this election. I mean, so many people have been jobless. So many people got hit with COVID, either the health effects of COVID, including me, right? I was just fortunate enough to have access, to healthcare and housing, and I could socially distance. But for so many people in my city, the lack of access to capital, the overfilled hospitals, people, small business owners who really wanted PPP funds, but saw companies like Shake Shack get it and they couldn't. I watched over and over again people struggling. But the best news is from on the ground is that despite, again, all this despair, people are mobilized and they're organized to vote. I saw so much early voting, so much early registration. People are excited to have their voices heard this time around. And when I talk to my people in Pittsburgh, I see the same thing. I see an energy that I haven't seen before. Folk who voted, and I'll be honest with y'all, I have voted third party at presidential for the last 2 decades. And this will be the first time that I am going to go in that booth and pull the lever for Joe Biden. And in many ways, I'm pulling the lever against Donald Trump. And because I know we can live to fight another day. And I know that with Joe Biden in office, we have the possibility, and this is just my opinion, I'm not telling people who to vote for, but I'm saying for me, we have the opportunity to struggle and to fight. I want to fight for a Green New Deal. I want to fight to to defund. And all those things aren't going to happen right now. But what's certainly not going to happen is any type of progress with 4 more years of the same. And so many people who I know who've never voted before, who don't believe in voting, who vote third party, who write in their grandmom, they're all like, no, this time we're going to do something different because we have to.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear it all the time. People are coming out to vote against Donald Trump. It's powerful. Yeah.
And I think I was going to say, one of the things that I think is so important about what you're saying, Mark, is that, I think that everyone is going to this election clear-eyed, right? It feels like in these elections past where it's like we had to make some kind of like Greek hero out of whoever our nominee is. And I feel like so many people are coming to this election with such a healthy perspective, which is I am voting for the leadership that I want to hold accountable to the issues and to the perspectives and to the conditions that Ayanna was talking about, the conditions that we are actually going to address. And so I'm excited because I feel like for the first time in a really long time, people are seeing voting as a means, as a waypoint, as a way to establish conditions for the fight, as opposed to a set it and forget it type of mentality. And that's the thing that I'm most excited about right now.
Me too. I think about the great James Baldwin in when he was asked to make a decision about who he was going to vote for, and he said, "I'm going to vote for Carter." He didn't have any. Clearly, Baldwin wasn't romantic or idealistic about America or about politics. But what he said is, he said, for Black people, including myself, my vote is a means of buying time. And that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to buy some time because we have more work to do. As you said, we're just setting the stage for the struggle. And Joe Biden can be moved. You can be cynical or critical and say politicians move because of their interests, not because of their feelings. True. Or you could say that people have sincere political conversions. Maybe, sometimes. But either way, if you can apply pressure and be victorious, that works. That works. And this is the idea. So you're right. People are clear-eyed. And what excites me about that clear-eyedness that you're talking about is that once November 3rd comes and we win, and we will win, on November 4th, people know they still have work to do. I think in the past, sometimes people have thought, I pulled the lever, I did my work for democracy, I'll see y'all in 4 years. And now we know there's so much more to do.
Yeah. And actually, that is, I think, the most energizing part of doing this work, right? Because all of us are tired. Truth be told, right? Every single person, I mean, and I'm in one of those states that the president seems to be completely obsessed with.
You're the person the president is completely obsessed with.
That's right. I love that every time. I was like, keep your name out of your mouth. Like, keep
it is insane. I mean, it's every single rally. And I think in Minnesota, right? Like, we rejected him, but we rejected him with small numbers. 4,500 votes is what Hillary won Minnesota by. Yeah. And for us, even though we are exhausted, even though we are dealing with a lot of unearthed trauma, even though a lot of us have personal pains and struggles that we're working through, like, we understand that we cannot lose sight of the fact, right, that like he came close enough to win our state. And we have to make sure not only does he not come close, but that Republicans don't try to prioritize our state ever again, right? And put us through this obsession and this trauma that they are putting us through. But I think more importantly, they're also excited about what happens, right? Because with the amount of numbers of people that turn out, we can send someone to the White House with a mandate that will allow us to hold them accountable.
Yes.
We can say this many numbers of us sent you in this position, right, to hold this office. And here is why we invested in you. And now we expect an investment in us, investment in our conditions, investment in our joy, investment in our wealth creation, investment in our humanity and dignity.
Yeah. I think that's so important, you know, sending people. There's a couple of really important things you said to me. One is absolutely just the vulnerability of these states. You know, we lost by 68,000 votes in Pennsylvania. You know, look at these other states where, you know, 15,000 votes, 30, 40,000 votes. You know, we win and lose. And there are more of us who believe in justice than those who do not.
Right.
Republicans don't win by demographic advantage. They win by the margin of us who don't vote or cannot vote, those who would choose not to use their voice and those whose voices are suppressed. And so in every state where we lost by 10 or 20 or 30 or 40,000 votes, there have been 50 and 100 and 200,000 people who would have chosen jobs over jails, who would have chosen peace over war. And so that is a reminder of that. But it's also about winning by a large number, partly because I don't want to, not only do I not want to see Donald Trump living in that public housing in DC after January, but I don't want anybody to think that anybody of that sort can ever win again. I want to see a complete, as we're saying, a mollywhopping, right? I want to see just a complete.
It's gotta be like slamming down,
yes.
like, you know, got it done. You're out, like,
yes, like a Mike Tyson fight in the 90s.
I mean, and I think like that's such an important point to point out how there are a lot of us. There are more of us than the numbers that he won by, right? And I levied a challenge against my colleagues who represent Detroit, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, because those three cities are in states where the vote total was 80,000 that allowed for Donald Trump to be in office. Yeah. And I know that they have the ability, right, to hold down the fort in their state because the votes are there, right? In Minnesota, the vote engine in my state, because it would have been red long ago, is in Minneapolis. And we have one of the highest turnouts in the country. Yes. And that has allowed for our state to stay blue and for there to not be, right, a Republican who holds the statewide seat for a long time. And so I know it is possible for Rashida and Pocan and others to make that a possibility to turn out the votes and secure, you know, a sweeping victory for all of us.
Absolutely. We're going to take over this.
You got this.
Yes, we got this. We want to take over the Senate. We want to be in complete control. And also for those out there that's watching this, it's not just about these national elections. These elections will also determine who your city council are, who your state reps are, that pothole you want filled, that library you want to stay open, that bathroom that you want to be gender neutral. A lot of these things have happened at the state level and at the city level. And what Republicans have done over decades is not just win the national seats. They win the courthouse, but also win in the White House, also winning the state house. And so we got to do all of that stuff. So when you go out there and vote, even if you are wrong, and you would be wrong to think that the national election doesn't matter, what happens at home, what happens at the crib in Philly and Detroit and Chicago and New York and Minneapolis and Boston, it all matters. So go out there and vote because we got this. We can win this. We will win. We will be victorious. And then we will get to work on November 4th, making this thing as good as it can be, to make an America that is as good as its promise. That's what we want.
Changes the Senate. In these urban districts, turnout also changes the Senate.
Yes.
For there to be nice partners for Warren and Bernie to pressure to deliver on behalf of the people.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. Thank you. It's powerful.
I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Keep fighting. Y'all are my heroes. I love y'all.
Be part of the squad. Our squad. Right there.
We'll get you a t-shirt.
No, I want one. I will wear it.
We'll get you one.
Appreciate it.
I like Alex just going.
I know. I'm like, and I always feel like I gotta like, yeah.
I want one of those t-shirts too.
You got
Can
it.
I get a t-shirt too?
Yeah, you got it. That's
The
that's
dopest DJ on the planet, whatever you want.
Oh, hey, can I get a quote? Let's kick up the next jam and then the next artist. What do you guys think?
Let's
Yeah.
go.
All right.
do it.
Yalla.
Yeah.
You know this one?
Of course.
All right. I'm so excited. So many powerful voices, such inspiration today.
Hey.
And more is coming. I want to introduce to everybody an amazing poet, storyteller, and organizer born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. She won the legendary Nuyorican Poets Cafe Grand Slam Poetry Award title in 2007. And Aja Monet follows in the long legacy and tradition of poets participating and assembling in social movements. Amazing. Her first full collection of poems is titled My Mother Was a Freedom Fighter on Haymarket Books. Her poems explore gender, race, migration, and spirituality, and she is a dear, dear friend of mine. I want to welcome to all of you, Aja Monet.
Aja!
Wow.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you all.
Bring us a word. Bring us a word.
So I want to say thank you all for having me. I'm, inspired by the work that you all are doing. And it is a difficult time. So I wanted to speak to the people that are watching, beyond voting, to make sure that you're taking care of your neighbors. What's ahead of us, we do not know. As much as we're trying to prepare and to vote the right people into office, just to take care of your neighbors, to remember we have to really look after each other in the days ahead, because I do believe it will get bumpy. And so these two poems are, it's a poem merged, so bear with me. All right, here we go. Woo. I actually wrote this poem for Senator Sanders with the Not Me, It's Us movement at the time, so bear with me. The devil taxes the air we breathe, privatizes the water, profits off homelessness, strangles the land, injects hormones in animals, and rapes the people but rewards the rich, charges us for being sick, sends a bill to our loved ones with interest when we die, laughs at us coughing up our lungs, gulping the water lead dripping off our chins, buys private ships to the moons, dances with your demons, the selfish, individualistic part of you, the one who rather not have the foot on our neck, or who shows up to the rally after sipping sweet comfort at a corporate gig that pays us just enough to die a little slower, to tithe the community with foster care. How being Black or woman or queer or trans or other or human or inhumane or computer or code, able-bodied, 10 fingers, 10 toes, running right or wrong. How none of it matters when the earth is a handwritten letter from the past, a ghost sculpted in blood, cities sweating, bitter memories flooded by crawling maggots and swollen hurt. How the sewers sing of old sidewalks and cool breezes are fairy tales we spoon feed our children in the heat, and we were never ourselves had we known who we are without greed. A world decorated by betrayal. If we had a sense of humor, we would all be more radical, more migrant than citizen. We'd breathe the air clean and ration our resources. We'd gather hugs and hold sets to bloom in pebbles of rain, reasoning with riverbeds. We'd rinse in daylight, ridding pipelines and fossil fuels. We'd melt all the guns. We would choose the scar, the moist in the back of our knees, the lick between knuckles, mocking evil and all its ill-designed destruction. We would bulldoze the walls and plant windows where widows weep. Beautiful green lakes hushed in our cradling arms. We would become the tiny brooklet kissing creeks. We are near a point of no return. A wounded woman scorned, temper sharp as 1,000 shards, aimed in one direction. I am weary for weeping. Me too, she whispers. Me too, the earth says. The most important election is in the heart. It is the campaign of the soul. It is a candidate measured by their courage. It is the enduring strength of love. It is voting for the understanding. It is how we make a way through no way in a basement church or high school auditorium or family living room. These days, insanity is the sanity, the stifled sobs, the despair. Praise the people's power. the poet laureates of the poor, careworn anthems soaring from the keyholes of closed shut doors, the whistle of who and why, the architect of self-determination. If you gon' vote, vote with your spine, a head held high, vote with the way you love, a gut singing, soft city sleep, dreaming of protest. The ballot is not a bullet, but it can be a border or a bridge. If you gon' vote, vote with how you pour into each other, how we mourn those we've lost, how we help hold the grief. Vote with childcare, how you nurse the sick, lending someone your car, how we pay fair wages. Vote by how we listen to the land, resist the artificial division of our deaths. We are held together by a common thread of concern. We, the life, we the chosen, we the freed, the migrant rebel lovers, we the word workers, we the shoeless standing tall, we the houseless housing hearts, we the teachers still students, we the farmers in the field, we the shamans being healed. Revolution or change is not a spectator sport. Silence is a noise too. Somewhere there is an incorruptible spirit remembering a time when we voted with the thoughts in our mind. It begins with you loving you enough to love me. We are the consciousness of this country rising. We are only as powerful as our vote made in the flesh, a voice bravely raising up the vibration. Vote with how you love.
That was beautiful. That was power, sis. That was so power. Vote how you love.
Right.
Thank you all so much.
Vote with yours. I love that. Thank you.
That was powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love that you talked about showing up for our neighbors, especially during this pandemic. Like, you know, I'm inspired every day. Just for very little my residents and my neighbors have, but they still show up. They still give when they don't have even for themselves. They give, and it's powerful. But thank you. That was really.
You all inspire me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was powerful.
Wow. That was such
I know.
Right there. Can we make that the National Poet Laureate?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, Afro Latina.
Of the movement. My God. Queen. Oh my God.
Well, we got another special guest, but because the New York poets were mentioned, I had to shout out the people of Puerto Rico as well, our gente, our people who have been through so much over the last 5 years and more, and so just gotta have that shout out. So next up, I'm so excited. We have an amazing actress, executive producer, change agent, and breakout star of ABC's Emmy-winning and Golden Globe-nominated comedy series Blackish and its spinoff Grownish on Freeform. Currently in season 3, Shahidi stars as Zoe Johnson, an ambitious, fashion-forward college student figuring out adulthood. The series tackles important issues facing both students figure out adulthood. So please welcome Yara Shahidi, everyone.
Hi, Yara. Hi, I'm so honored to be here.
Oh my God,
our Minnesota star.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Let me just put that out there.
No, I'm so excited to be here, and as a fourth-time voter, I'm really looking forward to all my peers are out there at the polls.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us, girl.
Yeah, and you're actually, I just thank you so much. Honestly, you are a brilliant artist, but to be transparent, sometimes I forget that because you hold so much activist space. And I just want to, thank you for honoring that tradition of the artists that came before you, like Ruby and Ossie Davis and Lena Horne and Harry Belafonte, and just the way with which you righteously forge your platform and what you have done for this generation. Just know that for those of you, I guess I'm entering auntie phase.
I'd be honored to have you as an auntie.
But just know that that you inspire us and you fortify us and you challenge us, and we welcome that. And we're so honored to have you at this virtual table. So just thank you.
Thank you so much.
I will say we're so proud of you here in Minnesota.
I'm born and raised.
Come on, we all claim
Stop it.
Here we go.
She's little sister to all of us, okay?
No. She holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, I was gonna say, I know that that we all know, but some might not know the amazing work that you have done to try to encourage young people who are turning 18 to get serious about registering and voting. And, we've all been engaged in this relational engagement, right? And trying to encourage people to talk to those that they are adjacent to. Can you tell us a little bit about that work and what you find exciting about that?
Of course. Well, honestly, it started with the 2016 election, and I was too young to vote, but I definitely felt as though the government was a process happening around me rather than with me. And I know that feeling of disenfranchisement, unfortunately, doesn't go away magically when people turn 18 or even when people take up their right to vote. And so part of it was midterm elections was my first major election. It was the first election I could vote in, and wanting to create a platform to be extremely transparent about voter education and what that process looks like. I felt as though I was privileged enough to really have every resource in the world, not only in terms of people and mentors to turn to, and I was still totally confused. And so I think being able to get everybody in a room, we've had some wonderful gatherings and created such a wonderful network of young people that have helped us better understand how we turn our passions into policies and what that looks like, especially to be of a generation that is so civically engaged. And I think already has that drive within them to make change. It's really about, well, how do we arm ourselves to ensure what we're actually reading when we read a measure, how we develop our opinions. And it's been so exciting, I think, to just see the response, not only to what we've been doing, but just generally from my generation, and to see the youth-led movements that have been so prevalent over the past some years too.
It's so been inspiring. But I like how you were talking, because I'm a social worker at heart. So when you were talking about I feel many ways from canvassing door to door, everything for my team is, it's especially talking to new registered voters. I feel like they want to vote, but the process can be so intimidating. And so just trying to navigate around that. And, I keep telling folks that, this is not an exam. Just get in there. I'm serious. People see that little bubble or something, and they think of a standardized test or so. Somebody actually told me that, and I was like, God, I didn't even think about that. But it is, I keep saying to folks, like, look, you can take somebody with you. You go vote together, vote as a family. I did it. I was my mom's translator. I would go in with her and help her vote. But it, Yara, like, one of the things that I hear from folks is, this stuff ain't even taught to us until like we turn 18, we get in there, maybe something's happening, you join a union, maybe you're part of a workplace or your work life, and then somehow you fall into it accidentally. I just wish that we were doing more now in schools, even like mock elections, everything, to make it so less intimidating. Alex, you talked about this, just even the language in Congress, like somebody like us, like coming in, and it's like they're using this language almost like it's exclusive. I just want folks to know, like, when they walk into that booth, like, you're equal to the billionaires, you're equal to everybody. Like, your vote is that powerful. It is amazing. But I am so inspired by your generation. You have no idea. I am also an auntie mode. I'm pro Rashida, but I can tell you it's been amazing, because I just feel this vibe and this energy that I think Aja talked about it, like coming from a place of love from this generation that's just been so powerful.
But also the urgency. So I love when this generation says, listen, you messed with the wrong generation. I love the sense of urgency. And Rashida, to your point, yes, I do think, certainly we need to have civics in our school. Young people don't spontaneously combust at the age of 18 and so about their community and our democracy. We have to cultivate that behavior and that relationship early on, which is why, and I think I've been supporting it, I introduced an amendment to lower the voting age of elections to 16. So we've got work to do to get that done. But a child's first teacher is their parent. And you would just speak to that, because you speak so much about your mom and the example in your household. And so what did they pour into you and planted that seed?
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm more than happy to speak about my parents always. But I feel like I come from a family of humanitarians and civic activists. And so regardless of where I ended up in the world, there was always an expectation to orient my position towards social justice and figure out how to do that. But I think part of it was the fact that I just got space as a young person to develop my opinion. My opinion was asked of me at a very young age about what I thought of the world. And my home was my first training ground to make sense of it. And quite honestly, being Black and Iranian, not only did they expect me to know about my cultures, but really expected me to understand my job as a global citizen, which I think is something that so much of my generation shares, which means I think there was a developed empathy just starting at home, knowing that whether or not I feel as though it directly affects me because it directly affects my extended family. And I think what I've been so inspired from you all is really that sentiment carried out, a globalist and a globalism in your policies that has been so inspirational as a generation that's coming up, being more connected than ever to the world around us and understanding how our struggles are so in tandem with the struggles of our brothers and sisters globally. But that's something that really started at home. And I mean, I'd even love for you all, I know we only have just a second left, but just knowing, because allyship is a conversation that has really been front and center, especially this summer. And I think you all represent, not only as a squad, but a sense of sisterhood and allyship in how you handle everything that's being thrown at you. And I'm wondering, for all of us sitting and observing, what notes you have on how to be an ally, especially how to be an ally in voting. I know Asia Monet wrote something so beautiful that really spoke to that as well.
Who's going to start?
Well, I mean,
go ahead, Alex.
I mean, I'm just going to steal a huge thing of what and amplify something that Ayanna says, which is that, you know, there's being an ally and there's being an accomplice, and you know, the way that we use our vote to not just talk about and consider ourselves, but to consider our community, to consider our country, to consider our world and our moment at large is one of the best ways that we can, you know, be an ally. But, you know, it's also the context with which we vote. You know, I think we've been talking a lot tonight about what happens the day after, right? And that's when that work really kicks in. We vote to set the conditions for change. And we vote to put in the most favorable conditions for us to do our work. And you know, even us as elected officials, accountability makes us better. You know, it's not about avoiding it. It's not about, you know, trying to make sure that it doesn't happen. We, especially if you're in movement, you want to be brought in. You want to be brought in by the grassroots. You want to be guided by the people. You want to be reined in sometimes when the agenda
actually more inspiring to be.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like it's not transactional. It's genuine. It's real.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of that kind of allyship is in how we hold power accountable after we put it in. You know, putting it in and then how we engage with it after is where the important work happens.
I would say also an important component of building allyship is building trust. Having trust in yourself and trust in the people that you are building a movement with, and in the process that you are engaged in, right? Oftentimes, you know, and I know Ayanna talks about this a lot. There is a lot of co-opting of movements that take place, and if there isn't a clear trust that is already established, if you don't have trust in the people that are representing you and going to bat for you, then it's easy for people to come in and co-opt that relationship. I think a fundamental part of building allyship is building trust.
Yeah, Nara, I love that you grew up learning empathy, and I think leading with compassion, if anything, even among us as sisters in service coming together, and just so much, you know, hate directed at us, and that kind of brought us together stronger. because we empathize so much together with the struggles we have personally and also with this new journey we're all on together. But I hope everything that you do, don't lose that empathy. Lead with compassion in everything that you do. So I think that's so important because it really is going to make the work you all do, every work that you lead into, all the young people out there listening, like it'll inspire you. This is one lifetime that you have. It will inspire you in so many ways to be full of joy. And Ilhan says that, like, why have all this hate and stuff? Like, fill it up with love. It's so much more powerful.
Yeah. Well, I associate myself with all of the insightful and eloquent comments by my sisters. I do just want to say about what your parents did, and my mother did that to me as well, is she never patronized me because I was a child, you know? And I think that we cannot do that. I want to tell you very quickly, there's an 11-year-old girl in my district, undocumented. Her mother, single female-headed household. She wasn't feeling well. She said, I will be right back. She went to the hospital, was tested positive, put on an intubator. That 11-year-old little girl for 2 weeks was caring for her 9-month-old sibling. She ran out of groceries. She ran out of groceries and diapers. And that baby was in a towel with safety pins. When we finally were able to get an agency to knock on her door, you want to talk about the power of love and community? This is Donald Trump's America. We failed her. That her mother was fighting for her life, and an 11-year-old little girl was caring for a 9-month-old sibling, undocumented, afraid to ask for help. But the power of community and love is that a neighbor paid attention and then reached out and got her help. So I believe in the power of love and of community, but community cannot stand in this gap without support. And I just wanted to just say, this is why we cannot condescend our children, because this is the America that they are living in. But the good news is we can do something about it. And I'm not trying to bring folks down by telling that story, but we need to stay uncomfortable. And I want all of us to be thinking about that 11-year-old undocumented girl caring for her 9-month-old sibling while her mother was fighting for her life. That didn't have to be. That's Donald Trump's America, but another world is possible. So we have to be honest about what our young people are living with. And I'm sure you could speak to that, you know? So I'm just gonna turn it over to you. You've been so generous with your time. You've been so generous with your gifts. You've been so generous with your wisdom and your counsel. I know this is not the last time we will be in these Zoom streets together, sitting at a virtual table.
Zoom streets, I love it.
But some parting words for the people.
Yeah, of course. No, that's such a powerful note to end on. Again, I'm grateful to be here, but there is that level of urgency. I often speak of indebted gratitude, of being aware of the people that have put their lives on the line for a future that they weren't guaranteed but deemed essential. And I think that's the work that we're all taking. And that's the work I know we're talking about the election, not as an end date, but as a start date. And so I'm looking forward to setting these new conditions with myself and with my peers, but to carry with us everyone that whose voices have gone unheard, not only in our vote, but in all of our actions. And thinking of accountability as love, I'm grateful to be in such a loving generation who holds accountability so close to our heart, to think of who are we not including and how do we actively go against that in order to create a society that is inherently inclusive. And I say all of this, and it is overwhelming and at the same time extremely exciting, because we're not in a mode of reform, but of reimagining. And I cannot wait to continue to reimagine with everyone. Thank you again for having me, and I'll be tuning in as an audience member now.
Thank you, Yara. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Yara, thank you.
Thank you. We so appreciate you.
Thank you.
Proud of you. Minnesota's proud of you.
All right, y'all. I think we're good. Oh, there's Navina.
Hey. Yara's amazing. I'm so inspired by her. All right, some music.
Uh-oh.
One that's done all the things you set out to do. Stand, there's a cross for you to bear.
things to go through if you're going anywhere. Stand for the things you know are right. It's the truth that the truth makes them so alive. Stand for the things you want are real. You have you to complete, and there is no need.
Listen to the lyrics.
There's a midget standing tall, and the giant beside him about to fall.
Feel free to get up and stretch your legs, move your booty around. Lots more in store for you. Quick music break.
The world, and everybody feels the same. It's a unanimous decision. I said we're ready for change.
My name is DJ Novena Carmel, having so much fun with you today. Providing some musical inspiration to get you doing what you need to do.
We want the truth, and no more lies. We want freedom, justice, and equality. I want it for you, but I want it for me. Even though we sometimes would not get a thing, we were happy when the joy the day would bring. Sneaking out the back door to hang out with those hoodlum friends of mine. Ooh. Greeting at the back door, but though I thought I told you not to go outside. Trying your best to bring the water to your eyes, thinking it might stop her from whipping your behind. It's no days, good. Come back once more. Why did those days? Hey, where have you go? It's no days, good. Come back once more. Why did those days? Hey, where have you go?
I am feeling blessed in the light of this afternoon sun. Imagining the possibilities of a new world, the infinite possibilities. And we're all a part of it. Some more special guests coming up real soon. Hey, y'all. It's hard to stop the music sometimes.
It
was amazing. I loved it.
Let's do this. So we've been talking about making history for quite some time. So we got two people who made history this year that are about to join us. Beating a 52-year family dynasty. 52 years. 52 years. She's a registered nurse. She's a single mother, ordained pastor, and made history in 2014 on the streets of Ferguson, shouting and crying out for Black lives. And of course, from the Bronx, we have someone who made history as well, a principal, a fighter, a Star Wars and Wu-Tang fan forever. And next up to represent New York 16 and Missouri 1 are Corey Bush and Jamal Bolton, the next level.
Party, party, party. You gotta tell us who they are.
So this is Maya, my little one. She's 6 years old.
Hi, baby.
This is Violet, my little niece. She is 5 years old.
Hi, Violet.
The big one, who is 8 years old.
Hi.
So I just wanted them to meet y'all right quick. This is the squad, y'all.
They're the squad too. You're all squad.
That's right. That's right. They're coming. These are the people that tell the president what to do. When the president gets out of line, these are the people that put him back in line.
Girl, we're your new aunties. We're your new auntie.
Okay. That's right.
I'm your auntie for sure.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna give you guys a virtual hug.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. See y'all later. See you.
Hey Corey, hey sis, how are you?
What's up, Corey?
Good to see you all. Hey. What are y'all feeling? What are you guys feeling? How's your community, how's your district? People coming out? What's going on?
You go first, Corey.
Look. Go ahead, Jamal.
I'm feeling good. I'm excited, obviously. Just kind of waiting for Tuesday to come and go so we can get started and get to work. Little anxiety, but just fortunate and blessed and humbled to be here. And the energy is crazy. I mean, Alex is in New York as well, so she's seeing the lines. I mean, the early voting lines are ridiculous. Our response has been ridiculous as well in terms of just not being prepared for the numbers. But the numbers are tremendous in the Bronx, all throughout Westchester, all throughout the country. So it's just, yeah, it's exciting. Just looking forward to getting through Tuesday, hopefully with the results we're looking for so that we can push and get to work. So it's feeling good.
What's going on with you, Corey?
What'd you say?
What's going on? What's going on?
Oh, I know Corey's tired.
Yeah.
I know, because this is a divine, this is an anointed one right here. A preacher, an orator, an architect of movements. She always has a powerful word. But we know you must be exhausted since you have been indefatigable in the work of social justice. And we are so committed and excited about the electoral victories of both of you, because we know that will mean a collective victory for humanity. This is bigger than a cycle. It's bigger than a seat. Both of you, are truth tellers, holding space for that righteous rage, but that righteous rage is always rooted in radical love. So the squad is big, y'all. And we're just so proud of you and inspired, and just, thank you for igniting and inspiring an electorate, because both of you have expanded it.
Mm-hmm. So, I think all of us have something to give. And I think it's when we realize that it's okay to be us the way we are, then we reach more. It's when we try to be like somebody else,
right?
We can't reach other people, because there are people that are like us that need to see somebody like us doing it that they can feel represented by. And then it's like, oh, she did that, or she can do it. I do. Let me tell you, that's how I made it through nursing school. I'm looking at the people in the class ahead of me, and I'm like, shoot, if they could do it, I could do it, because I know what they do on the side. So if they could do it, I could do it. And so in the same way, this is how we win, and this is how the squad is big, because all of us represent different groups of people that are doing different things, and come from different walks of life, and then we put that thing together, and we make actual radical change. And I don't care if they call us revolutionaries, if they call us radicals, extremists. I don't care what you call us. Just know that you're gonna see the change that comes with all of that you're calling us. So call me what you want. Just know you won't call me lazy.
They're gonna call you Congresswoman in a minute.
Right. You're gonna get
what they're gonna call you. They're gonna call
that's
you
a word. That's a word.
Absolutely.
So, one of the things I've been realizing, and we've all been talking, and there is this amazing, incredible asset that your districts are going to have, is your lived experience. Like, many of you ran, you both ran because either you were angry enough, or like something was going on and you were just feeling like you couldn't stand by the sidelines anymore. I mean, and you get asked all the time, why you're running, and it's that lived experience that you bring forward. And I just know, and I tell you this because I see many of my colleagues, which I love and respect, but you can go numb if you stop being yourself. You're going to go numb, Jamal, if you're not connected with the community and going home to your district. And that's why I think, even at that moment, even when I'm looking at folks, I wonder how that's also connected with so many folks listening now that may not have voted yet. Like, maybe that they're feeling numb. And I just want you to know, like, your election is motivating them and waking kind of this awakeness and this connection that it wasn't there before. And so I just know there's folks that have been numb, and all of a sudden Jamal gets elected, and they're like, all right, okay. And they have this connection. I'm like, oh yeah, she speaks for me. That's how I talk. And that's what I believe in. And so I just appreciate you guys all being part of this awakeness that is happening around our country.
Well, thank you for that, and I appreciate you all, obviously, because when I saw y'all do it 2 years ago, run and win, and then talk the way you talk and do what you're doing in Congress, I was like, okay, there's a place for me there. There's a place for me in that space to speak about the issues that mattered most to me, as an educator and coming from the communities that I came from. So it was watching y'all, from afar, like, okay, like finally, now we can do real work. Now we could talk about real issues. So, appreciate y'all for all of that. And to your point, yeah, I mean, there's been so many people who never voted in a primary before, who voted for us. So many people who didn't know the difference between a primary and the general, who are now having those conversations and like, oh, I got to vote for you again? Didn't I vote for you before? Like thinking it was just a one-time thing. So we're bringing so many new people into the conversation, and that's how we're going to make the transformative change we're going to make going forward. So it's just a blessing to be with y'all. I
got to tell you a story. So in 2008, I'm running for Michigan House. This because you remind me of something. My mother, who came to this country at like a young age of 20, didn't speak any English. And I remember I'm running, and she'd come in and she's helping put stamps on little postcards and everything. And then she's like, come here, to me in Arabic. And she sits me down. She's like, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, what are you talking about, Mama? And she's like, you're supposed to be running in November. No, what are you talking about? August? Like, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, Mama, that's a primary election. And she had no idea. And then that's the thing, Jamal and Corey, we don't sometimes talk to our block, our backyard, like our people. Like, I talked to one of my cousins who's like, what's the nonpartisan section of the ballot? Like, what is that? But I remember my mom thinking I was doing it wrong. Like I wasn't going to she's like, you're not going to get elected because you're running in the wrong month. It was amazing conversation, but you're right. People are, awakening and figuring it out because they know us or connecting to us. But y'all, like, I feel blessed. I don't know about y'all. Like we're expanding the electorate. Mm-hmm. We are. That's right. Just on the ballot. We're expanding the electorate.
We're getting that. We're getting there though because of one key thing. We didn't quit. Mm-hmm. We didn't quit. All of you that ran in 2018 and won, you could have made the decision to not run again. After all that you all went through, you could have made the decision that you could have stopped before your book. Oh, we got other stuff. You could have stopped before. You could have stopped.
Hello.
Right. You could have stopped before your term was over and said, before it was up, and said, you know what, I'm done. Like, this is too much. But you stayed the course. Jamal and I could have stopped before we finished. Jamal had all of these attacks. He could have said, you know what, I'm done. Like, I could go back and be with my kids. Like, I don't need this. I could have, when the mailers came out talking about me being evicted, talking about me being, low wage and all of that at one point in my life, you know what? Instead of it hurting me, people came in and said, you know what? I wasn't voting for you before, but when I saw that, you sound like me. So you know what? I'm going to vote for you.
Same thing, yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't quit. That's how we do this. So our people that are watching, this is how we win, but not only win elections, this is how we win in life when we don't quit. So your votes matter, like every single one. None of us will be up here in the positions that we're in if you didn't show up to vote, if somebody didn't show up, because we all are in a place that people said we couldn't get to, where people said we shouldn't be. You're not the right name, you're not the right brand, you're not from the right family. But we're here because people believed in us, and now we're able to make change. So if you show up, if you don't quit, if you bring more people in, if you help the squad to grow and be as big as we know it could be, that's how we see the change we want to see.
Beautifully put.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you all both. Thank you both for running. Courage. Oh, here we go. No, you need one of these shirts. You need one of these shirts.
Yeah, we gotta make it happen. Going on the park tonight and getting one. Peace and love, y'all. Good to see you.
All right, love you, family.
Thank you. think we're going to an artist. Oh, that
Do
was
you guys
nice.
even remember
Wait,
what your mindset was like
I know.
3 days out? Do you remember? Like, can you go back there? Like, what did you think 3 days out?
It was still surreal. Like, I don't know, y'all. Like, I do remember how just surreal. Like, it's funny because it sinks in a little bit more.
I don't know. I was panicked that they weren't gonna let me sit in Congress because
Alex and I thought the same thing. We were like, oh my gosh, they could still pull a stunt. You know, I mean, we didn't know she had this crazy stuff going on with the ballot and all these things. You know, we just still. What
no,
do you
I had an opponent,
you know,
like a write-in. It was crazy. Like they just tried to do a write-in. I'm like, oh my God, like it was just a lot.
I don't know if any of you even remember you had to like vote in order to let me sit in Congress. Do you all remember?
Yes, we all remember. I remember. Like I was like, that's a rule.
It was a thing.
Right? Like, what? I know they weren't ready for us. So
yeah.
No, I'm just glad. I can't wait for Jamal and Corey to get there. It's gonna be fun.
I think we're ready for some more moves. Some more joy.
Hey, girl.
This isn't Club Quarantine. This is Club Squad. You know?
Club Squad.
I know. Is the DJ taking any requests?
Oh wow! I hope I have it. This is a lot of pressure.
No, we'll let you do your thing.
I got a song about voting.
All right, let's go.
I found one.
Whatever you want to spin, sis. We trust it.
Thanks, sis.
Oh, there we go.
Go, baby, go. Go, baby, go. Go, baby, go.
That should be like outside of polling location. So when people are walking in, we're like on a mission.
I like it.
This is like
it's like literally a march to the polls.
Okay, you gotta really move on that. This ain't auntie music. I don't know what to do with that.
Earlier we were talking about New Yorican poet, and this is New Yorican soul.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. So we gotta bring the next artist in, y'all.
Yeah.
Because we'll rock out all night. We gotta keep She is like, she is in full vibe right now.
It's all right.
Who's the next artist we have coming out?
Y'all make me want to sing.
Oh, here we go.
Just finish.
And it's all right.
Uh-oh.
Don't get me singing it so bad.
All right.
Hey, girl. I know, right?
This is great.
Who we got next?
All right. I am really excited. This is get me pumped. We have someone who's been an activist from an early age, an advocate, leader, hip hop artist, recently named Times 100, Next 100. Let's do it. Still a teenager. He's spoken multiple times at the UN, addressing General Assembly, and spoke on panels with the likes of T.O. Bernie Sanders, Van Jones, Shailene Woodley, Bill McKibben, Pharrell Williams. So let's please welcome Rashida Scott Martinez.
Hey. What's good, everybody? Honored to be here this evening. Clase Comati. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being in the space with us.
Absolutely. What exciting times we're in right now, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Feeling the positive energy, sending it out to to the world. Like, we got this.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, thank you again so much for joining us. And it feels like it feels like ages ago, but also somehow not ages ago that we're at that town hall on the Green New Deal. And I'm really interested, we know the work that we have to do on Tuesday, right? At least by Tuesday. And I'm interested in hearing from you, like, we so rarely talk about our greatest hopes and our greatest dreams. And I want to create that space for you to kind of talk about, like, what is your vision and what you want to fight and organize for, and the world that we're going to win after November 4th?
100%. I think that's such an important discussion. And I think as artists, part of our job is to be on the forefront of imagining what we are transforming the world towards. And I think we get caught up so often in, the negativity and the issues that our communities are experiencing, our world is facing. And within that, like, I think it's a firm reminder we have to hold true within our organizing, within our leadership, to begin the building of a new world through imagining an alternative to what we exist within right now. And I think it's a beautiful job. And for me, I've worked for a long time at the intersection of Indigenous sovereignty issues, climate justice, as a hip hop artist, as a son of immigrants, from Mexico, and understanding issues of family separation, understanding how the climate crisis is impacting migration, which is something that is such a sacred part of many of our cultures that has existed long before these colonial borders. So looking into the future, looking at these visions, I see a world where these colonial borders like no longer exist in ways that restrict our people from freely existing. I think about my ability to create my art, and for young people everywhere to freely be able to pursue and use their voice and use their passion to touch the world without being held back by the reality of things like the climate crisis and things like family separation, things like violence in our communities from militarized police forces. And I think something that I've really learned from movements like Standing Rock, or like our relatives that are Indigenous relatives at the border right now that are fighting the expansion of Trump's genocidal border wall, the Kumeyaay Nation and the O'odham Nation, is that our past as Indigenous peoples often can inform where we go from here forward, because there are very concrete examples of Indigenous communities living in balance with the natural world, having thriving in complex forms of economies, trade, relations between different nations that did not rely on extractive forms of relations. So it's like, for me, the future is one where we are in right relation with one another, with the earth, and understand that we are a part of something much bigger than just this individual space that we oftentimes exist in.
I think that's so beautiful. And it also recognizes the fact that what we are living in right now, the conditions, the systems, the resources, the relationships are disordered. Like, we are living in disorder. And I think sometimes we take everything around us for granted as like, this is just the way it is. And this is not the way it is. It is, there will always be kind of a movement towards balance and what you're talking about, right relation. And I think it's so beautiful to remind ourselves and each other of that the imbalance that we are in right now is not only unsustainable, but it's harder to be in disorder than it is to be in right relation.
Absolutely. And that's what the vision of the Green New Deal is, I think, broadly, is really understanding that the movement and the world that we are transitioning towards, when we look at a political platform, really is about returning to a space where, all of these systems, from access to good jobs, to access to healthcare, to polices that are communities that aren't over policed, like, that is in alignment with a stable and healthy environment and climate. And I would love to close with like a little spoken word piece. I know we got to keep moving on to the next, but yeah, this is my art. This is how I'm so inspired to be, contributing to the world in this way as well. And it says, I see my people with their hands up. You could show yourself out if you came to see something average. We came as a family, not an industry standard. I'd rather drown together than leave my fam behind. Without them, I wouldn't have none. I hope you could feel the magic. I'm living life grounded, steady, finding the balance. Raised by warriors, ready for any challenge. You hype on the small swells. We were born to ride mavericks. This is the turning of the tides. There I was, 6 years old, my eyes wide open. I saw the storm city swallowed up by the ocean. Humanity messed up. Look at the world broken. I want to see the borders open. I wrote this music. It was something I found hope in. My generation finally seeing the web woven. Everything is connected. Our generation was chosen to guide the way to the light. You see, this is our movement. We walk on roads paved by every great leader of every revolution. We doing it our way. We are not bound by our colonized history. We are bound by our collective liberation. The power of the people is more powerful than people in power. I believe that this can be our finest hour. Clase Kamati, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, that was so powerful. And before you leave, I just wanted to say that I think, you know, we often forget that our climate crisis has foreign policy, immigration policy impacts. And, you know, we like to think all of these policies in silos, and we often don't think about how they're interconnected, how a particular decision or non-decision impacts the other decisions that we have to make when it comes to everything else that's impacting us as a community and a global community. So thank you so much for bringing that perspective to the conversation about a Green New Deal.
Absolutely. Keep writing, keep leading. Thank y'all so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you so
you.
much.
Thank you, thank you for blessing us.
Thank you. That was amazing. I was super excited and I clicked the thing and I'm like, oh my God. That was amazing. Even about just, even when we talk about collective, you know, minds and hearts and bringing everybody together, it's really moving. It's powerful. So I don't know who got next, y'all. Like, who is coming up next? Oh, they're all like, oh yeah, we got a big one coming up next. I think.
We have the real auntie coming up.
we got the
ready. Y'all ready for who's coming up next?
Yes, I'm excited.
Yes. We have from Brooklyn. I know we got the Bronx here too, but we got Brooklyn as well. We got Brooklyn all over this.
Here we go
From Brooklyn, New York. He has been a U.S. Senator. This is the third term in the U.S. Senate. He has led on legislation for economic justice, has been a fighter for people across the country. Some folks call him Amo Bernie or Theo Bernie, but please welcome the U.S. Senator from Vermont, Senator Bernie Sanders.
Thank you. All right. What an honor. Thank you guys for inviting me to be with
Senator.
you. How you all doing?
We're good. We're ready.
Are you all going to win big on Tuesday?
We are.
All right.
What do you think? We're working it. We're
I know you are.
expanding electorate. We're talking to people that nobody talks to. We're telling them you're needed to show up, vote. We appreciate all the work you've been doing. You're all over. Where were you last? I saw you all over the place.
I just, with Ayanna, you all know Ayanna who works with the domestic workers, who's done an extraordinary job raising the profile of some of the most exploited and invisible workers in this country. We have done now, I think we're close to 20 virtual rallies all over the country. And we did a great one last night on raising the minimum wage. And Kamala was on with us. So we're working hard. I just want to say a word. I want to congratulate all of you, for two reasons. Not only are you fighting the fight that has to be fought, what you know, and unfortunately not so many of your colleagues know, is that the only way we make change is through grassroots activism. And each and every one of you, you've all rejected corporate PACs. You don't sit around going to rich people's homes. You are out on the street, and I know it's hard to do it now, but you do the best you can and have always. That's what your career is about. And and by the way, maybe, I'm knocking on wood here, whatever it is, we are beginning to see the fruits of all of our labor in this election. You are all reading that in Texas, in Georgia, other states, guess what? Young people are starting to come out in big numbers. And you know why? It's because of the work you guys and other progressives have done. We have spoken to young people and working class people in a way that establishment politicians often do not. And they understand and they respond. So we have made progress in a whole lot of ways. I just want to congratulate you. I know, and let me say this personally, each and every one of you has been under a special, ugly pressure from the President of the United States in ways that are beyond belief. Totally disgusting. Racist, outrageous behavior from the President of the United States. So I thank you for responding with class and with dignity and showing the world what an idiot he is. And I thank you. And I thank you for doing it. It's not easy. I was with Ilhan. Now, I'll never forget this. We were having dinner at a Chinese restaurant in D.C. You remember that, Ilhan?
I do.
And here she is, a freshman member of the United States Congress, doing her job, and suddenly she's getting attacked in a vicious way by the President of the United States. You know? And I asked her how she was responding, how she was feeling. She says, nothing new. That's what I've had to deal with my whole life. And that's the truth, I think, for all of you. So I just want to thank you for the dignity that you have shown. I cannot think of a group of people, and I say this absolutely sincerely, a group of people, all four of you, who have had more of an impact on the political situation in this country than you guys have. You really have. You have helped transform America. That is no small thing. So thank you so much for what you've done.
Well, Senator, thank you. I know I said that to you because I know that all of us are used to and have experienced people who are threatened by our attacks by people who are threatened by our presence in rooms. And so it's no surprise, right, that the president and the Republicans have made us the target. But I know that you have also been the target of the status quo and the establishment. And we have had a conversation amongst us about what is possible after November 4th. And what's giving you hope? What's making you feel energized to continue the fight?
Look, and I think each of you have said the same thing in different ways. Our first fight is to defeat Trump, and that has to happen. I know all of us are working very hard to make that happen. But we understand that electing Biden is not the end all. It is the beginning, okay? And I think as the result of the work that all of you have done, Biden's proposals in this campaign are a lot stronger than they were in the primary. Alexandria was on the climate change task force, did a great job. And his proposals are stronger. Do they go as far as we would want? No, they don't. Okay. Biden, unlike Trump, does not conceive of himself as a dictator. That means you have your job in the House. I've got my job with others in the Senate. And we're not giving up on our agenda. For example, one area, Biden wants to expand healthcare, that's good. Wants to lower prescription drug costs, that's great. Wants the double funding for community health centers, very important. But you know and I know that at the end of the day, the only way that we're going to provide quality care to every man, woman, and child in an affordable way is through Medicare for all. And we ain't giving up on that struggle. All right? We're going to introduce Medicare for all. Believe me, we are. And we have, because of all of your efforts and the efforts of great doctors and nurses and others throughout the country, we got a majority of the people who support us. So thank you for that. Green New Deal, we ain't giving up on that. We know, my God, every day, the horrors that are going on the West Coast right now, all over the world, Australia burning, West Coast burning. We have got to be bolder than ever before in tackling climate change. And as Alexandria and all of you have pointed out, we can create millions of good paying jobs as we do it. We're going to go forward on that issue, on criminal justice, on immigration. All right, we're not retreating. So our first task, we've made it clear to everybody, it's no great secret. Our first task, we got to defeat the worst president in the modern history of this country. And number two, we organize our people to make sure that Biden becomes the most progressive president since FDR. That's what I'm envisaging.
That's right. And Senator, because you let that culture shift of, not me, us, what you're talking about is what the poet just really poured into us. Is that reminder that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. It's that old adage that, change does not come from Congress. It comes to Congress. And that's not to give short shrift to the power of our seats, but it's just the reality. Ultimately, systemic transformative change has zero to do with the conviction of the people in these seats, and everything to do with the courage of the people, of everyday people in this movement. And you have empowered so many with that. And so, we thank you, and thank you for coming to this virtual table. As I said, we've all been heavy in these Zoom streets right now, doing everything we can to make sure that people understand, clearly what is at stake and what is the most consequential election, not just in our lifetime, but in history. So thank you. For doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, and the other thing too, Bernie, is that like we, and I and all of us, we really thank you for normalizing. And this is what I've been telling our community, and like how we're going to achieve our agenda moving forward. Normalizing bringing the ruckus on the Democratic Party, because that was not seen as okay for a very long time. It was seen as extremely taboo for a very long time, and it would result in so many people being ostracized and targeted, which, you built your whole career enduring that. And now that that's been normalized, like every single one of us got our seats challenging the Democratic establishment in one way or another. We weren't the favored, D-trip candidate, or we challenged incumbents or whatever that may be. And now, from a grassroots perspective, people are realizing that, we can hold our party accountable and put the fire on our party, on our own party. It doesn't have to just be Republicans. And in that way, we prevent the rightward drift of the Democratic Party, and it's really completely reset the idea of one's relationship with the party that they vote for. And that would not have happened without you in 2016, again this year, and with so many other progressives as well, and the work that they've been putting in. And I think it's really completely reset people's political imagination of not only what we can achieve, but how we achieve it.
It's a very freeing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, Amo Bernie, I just also hope personally, and that you feel less alone, that you have a squad, you have a crew of us that are standing with you about speaking the truth. I just want you to know, I know we have the movement work and you've worked with it, but I hope you feel less alone in that you have folks that understand what you are trying to tell folks, is that, this is supposed to be your party. This is supposed to be your government. That government is supposed to be about you, not those that have the wealthy, the corporation. So just know you have, I don't want to age you, you have your sisters that will continue to push back. We appreciate your leadership in the Senate. And thank you for believing in the possibility of people like us running for office and winning, and not being intimidated by us really unbelievably strong, beautiful, loud, unapologetic women. It's really hard for people to be in space with us. And you don't say, Rashida. You don't say. I still know. He seems all like cool about it. Like he's all right. Like, yeah, this is like family or something. So
it is family. Look, Rashida, I have said this before and I say it again. Somebody looking and say, hey, it's an old Jewish white guy. What does he have in common with these young people, women of color? What? And the answer is, I have more in common with you than the overwhelming majority of my colleagues. Why is that? Because we come from the same place. We talk, we understand each other. We all come from similar, different, but we all come from working class backgrounds. We know what it's like to struggle out there. So you're right. You make me feel less alone. It's true. And I love each of you. I really do. You guys are extraordinary, each in your own way. And just thank you so much for what you're doing. And we're going to go forward together.
Yes. Love you. After the election, we're going to squad up and continue to fight every injustice out there. Thank you so much for being with us.
And I love the fact that Rashida let you get a word or two in tonight.
Yeah. Don't even start. Don't even start.
That's how you know she's sentimental. To Alex's point, this is so important because I think that forever there was the movement. You guys want to mute? We don't echo. There was the movement versus elected officials. The truth is there is an inside outside, but if you're getting it right, it's all one movement. Right. And so when we say that we're in solidarity, we're in the battle. We're not on the battlefield. We're in the battle. And that is the culture shift that has happened. And
that's right.
With ushering that in. So thank you, Senator.
Okay. Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Oh, Novina's back. Yeah.
Did somebody say something about everyday people?
Hey.
All right. We got to bring up the next guest who is more than everyday people. Very excited. Congresswoman Waters has served under 5 presidents while amassing an impressive track record as an impassioned and relentless advocate for the issues she believes in. From fighting for women's rights as an early pioneer in the feminist movement, working to protect and advance the organized labor movement, leading California in opposition to apartheid in South Africa, to opposing mandatory minimum sentencing and fighting against discriminatory practices in the private sector. When it comes to any barrier or challenge standing in her way, perhaps Elle magazine said it best: you will never in your entire life get the best of Maxine Waters. Woo!
You guys are having too much fun.
Hey, that's my woman.
What a wonderful virtual meeting that you have.
We love you, Chairwoman.
All of these fabulous guests that you're having. This is the kind of leadership that you're providing in this time of COVID-19 and how we use the virtual possibilities. In the same way that you hit the Congress when you hit the Congress and you came in and you've created a new atmosphere. Now, Ilhan, I want to tell you, I was reading something that you said, I guess a day or two ago, where you talked about why people were going to come out and vote. I think you said something about, I don't know if you said fear and hatred. And I thought to myself, now that is the kind of description that you won't hear from the average politician. What the average politician will be saying, oh, I think the people have been empowered and I think that now they will move in the right direction. But you said, no, they're coming out because of, I believe you said fear and hatred. And
I said the rejection of fear and hatred.
Okay.
Because I believe, right, that every single person he has othered and spewed hate against, every community they represent are going to come out in rejection of that, because we're tired about in allowing him to, make us feel any kind of way, and we're done with it, like you've been saying.
Well, the thing about it is, it has been absolutely unbelievable that people could not see and understand early on what a despicable human being that he is. I've never met anybody like him. They get real.
Oh, no, I know.
No. They get angry. Yeah.
Auntie Maxine, before we got there, you were speaking the truth about him early on. I mean, I think you were the first people to say, oh, wait, this smells, oh, he's racist. Like, people didn't even want to say it when it was very clear that he was.
Right. That's right.
I love that you did that. I mean, from being on the outside in when he first got elected, I feel like you spoke for me. And I so appreciate that so much. Like, you really did. And I just kept saying, oh my God, Auntie Maxine's going to keep speaking the truth. She's going to keep telling him off. She's going to shut him up. So I appreciate, before we got there, I mean, you were doing it. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. They get angry when I say that I have worked with, Crips and Bloods and gang members and all of that, bringing them along, having to connect them, to, all kind of possibilities. And I've never encountered any of them who were, as bad as the President of the United States of America, that I believe that they had more integrity than he has. And one of the things that I really learned is when you love people, they must love you back. And that's what happened with all of these young gang members. And I used to have them. I used to have classes for them. And they would come into my class and they would be saying, yes, ma'am. And I would hug them. And someone would come to say, Ms. Waters, he shot somebody last night. And so I guess what that did for me was it was to say, I don't care what happened last night. The next day is a new day with new possibilities. And so, when I compare, these young people with someone like the president, I can't tell you what I feel about the president, because the words that I would use would just not be acceptable anywhere, because I feel, so strongly about him. And of course, I'm looking for this great win that we're going to have. You have to usher it in. You have, as Maya Angelou would say, courage is perhaps the best of all virtues. And you had courage. You have courage because you came in, you took on the speaker, you took on, the whole idea.
Madam Chair, but please,
yes.
let us pay tribute to you and hold space for you, because you're OG squad. Okay,
that's right.
If you have not been shaking tables and truth telling and being disruptive, before we were in his sightline, the occupant, you were, and you were subjected to that hateful rhetoric. And when you reclaim your time, we know that you're reclaiming all ours.
Wow.
We are all ours.
That's right.
For anyone who's ignored, left out, left behind, marginalized, oppressed, victimized by policy violence, you are all our Congresswoman. We all claim.
I mean, I don't know, Chairwoman. I know these three get to spend so much time with you, as they are fortunate. I know people think I'm on the committee, which I'm not. But you and I also spend a lot of time together. And I remember, there were times where things were very challenging for me. And everybody had an opinion about what I should do and what I should say. And I remember you standing next to me and saying, you don't have to do anything but be Black and die Black. and I think that, like, the idea that we show up as our full selves and we don't allow people to dim our light and make us feel small is really attributed to you.
Oh,
right. I think we walk taller and bigger than we are because you have been. Wow. And I think oftentimes we forget, right, like that there are people who took on more bullets and more pain than we are taking on, and who had to endure a lot without having the solidarity that comes with, our public pains, right? The challenges we go through, we're going through it in the public eye. And there's so much solidarity that's built around us and so many people who hold us up. And I know that for many of you who have paved the way for us to be as bold and brave and as unapologetically as we are today, endured all of that privately. And so we're just grateful to you and everyone who's made us feel that even though, we might be very small, we can be very mighty.
And Halto Maxine, I know, but I gotta tell you, you remember my bumpy beginning. And when you asked to come see, you said, I want to see her. I was like, oh my God, this was like our first meeting. But you came in there, remember? I cried and you said, don't you apologize, Rashida. And you said, I've been there. Let me tell you, just don't apologize for being you, for being angry, for being, and I just want you to know how much that meant to me. And
Wow.
I don't think you realize how much of a dent you made in me as I, continue on to speaking truth and continue on just being myself. And I don't have to be that polished politician. I don't have to be that. I can be the social worker, the mama bear, the girl from Detroit. I can be all of that and not have to change. So I thank you so much for that. And that moment you will never forget.
Wow, you guys have just been so wonderful to me. I just don't know how to take it.
You deserve it. We love you.
Wow.
We love you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for
Yes.
taking us away. We love you.
And it's,
Oh,
I
my
think
goodness.
it's so important too, because it's also important, for all of us, but to also model that every single one of us comes from a heritage and a lineage of the fight for justice. And it is not just the right thing to do, but it also makes us better when we understand the road it took to get us to this present moment, so that those in the future understand the path and the trajectories that we've been on to help us map our trajectories for the future. And we would not be here if it wasn't for you. We would not be here if it weren't for the legacy of Shirley Chisholm and, all of us, everybody, elected and unelected, who came here and helped create the space for us to be here. And it's not just about the past, too. It's about the present, Chairwoman, because I remember just a few months ago, that super viral clip that everyone was just amplifying of, when there was a young man getting pulled over and you pulled your car right over in front of him. And you came out and this officer was trying to tell you that this is none of your business because he didn't know at first who he was talking to. And what was so powerful about that leadership was that you were doing something that anybody could do. You were doing something that any person in this country, if they saw that going on, they could also pull over their car. Except because you did it in yourself, it was just shocking that people could also see someone in such a position of tremendous power, caring, and doing something on such a personal level. And so I just want to thank you for that too, because it's not just about the work that you've done leading us here, but also, the work that you continue to do to lead us.
Well, let me tell each of you that you have had your impact, and I want to thank you for, your kind attributes, to me today. But let me tell you, each of you have had your impact already on the Congress of the United States. And I am very hopeful as we go into the next session after this election that you have created an atmosphere for change. And I'm going to be right there with you. I'm going to be right there with you. We're going to talk about new ways to do things. We're going to talk about new subjects. And we've got to rethink how we address some of these systems that, are in place and have been in place for so long. I'm convinced that we can do a better job about homelessness. I'm convinced that the money that we're sending to the cities and to the states and the way that it is organized has not done the job. We're sitting here, we're sending money and we're giving it to our locals and they're in charge of, getting supposedly supportive services and, affordable housing and all of that. But people look at us and they think, why aren't you doing more? And I'm looking at us and saying, yeah, I think we can do better than this. And so, guys, we've got to end homelessness forever. It begins with understanding that those people on the street need us, that they don't have anything else. Many of them will never, ever work a day in their lives. And all this business that, some come at us with saying that, yes, we've got to, clean them up and make them more independent so they can get a job. Some people will never be able to have a job. They are disabled for a lot of reasons. Some of it has to do with the drug epidemic. Some of it has to do with just physical damage. Some of it has to do with congenital damage that was never taken care of and their health was never taken care of. So we have to take a look, and we're going to have an opportunity to do that. Okay, I want to tell you, we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 on that committee, and Ilhan thinks she's on the committee. And so,
you make me feel like I am on the committee, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I want to tell you what Ayanna was going to do. She's going to come all prepared, and she's going to make a presentation that nobody can disagree with. And Rashida is going to come and she's going to put on her best mean face. And she's going to say in so many words, it ain't none of y'all doing shit. So, it's true. And okay, I want to tell you that, Alexandra, you're going to come in there and you're going to watch everybody. And you're at the right time and place because you've heard everybody by the time they get to you. And then you're going to make us all look like fools. You're going to say, and you guys don't say it because you're very dignified. You don't say it. But in your own way, you're saying, you're full of shit. You don't know what you're doing. You got to listen. Nobody's paying attention. And that's why we're in the shape that we're in now, because too many people have paid attention to you for too long. And we ain't with that anymore. We got a new way of doing things. And so I'm going to sit back as the chair, and I'm going to nod my head. I'm going to nod my head, and then I'm going to bang the gavel. But in the final analysis, we're going to get something done, okay? Thank you.
Chairwoman. We love you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was so much fun. That is so much fun. Hey, Lee, thank you, girl.
I have to say, like, how much I envy you all for getting to spend so much time with Maxine.
Oh, thanks. But no, look, for our MC girl, Lee, I know this was hard. Lavina, thank you for keeping the spice going, girl. We appreciate it.
My honor.
Who's the little fella there?
This is another.
Oh,
Bossy.
This was amazing.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you, sisters. We got this.
We got it.
Texted and calling.
Nina. Thank you.
I love you all. Let's get out there. Let's vote out.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's
vote. And I think to wrap us all off and to kick everything off, we've got a squad hype video that's been prepared by the team out here. So let's go cue it up. Let's watch it.
Make sure you vote. You take 3 friends to vote. You tell your whole family. 5 friends. Ready? Go vote.
Thank you to our teams, y'all.
Thank you for doing this.
Y'all, we could not do this without them. And thank you all for being a part of this, okay? All right. Get out the victory.
Thank you.
Get out the